So let me tell you why names in wrestling don't matter. It's all about how you are presented to the audience. What is your character about? What is your gimmick? Names don't matter. For example, I never heard of this tag team called Pretty Deadly. When I first seen them, I was like, that team don't look like a Pretty Deadly. Then I watched them on NXT when they won the tag team titles, and man, now I'm a huge fan of those guys. It has nothing to do with their name. I don't care about their name. It's all about how the way you are presented. Now, when I first saw them, I'm like, man, I'm gonna hate these guys. I mean, look at them. But after last night, man, those guys won me over. That audience is gonna grow to hate those guys, and that's a good thing. In fact, man, they might be my new favorite tag team right now, man. I'm sorry. I like how they look, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Based on their wardrobe, I'm like, man, I'm gonna hate these guys, but nope. Those guys won me over. They look like a late 80s WWF tag team. That's like, I could see them against the Brainbusters. I could see them against Demolition, the Road Warriors. Who else? The Killer Bees, the Bulldogs, the Heart Foundation. They can wrestle against those teams. That's how good they look. They look like a late 80s cartoonish tag team. That's why I'm a huge fan of those guys. It's like, okay, look, they kind of look like Milli Vanilli, but still, that's why I like them. They look weird. They look different. They look very flamboyant. They look like dudes that, I don't know, Kelly Bundy would date. They look like dudes Kelly Bundy would date, and Al Bundy would toss their ass out of the damn door. Seriously, go back and look at them. They look like dudes that Kelly Bundy would date, and Al Bundy would whoop their ass. That's how good they look. I like them. But they have an odd name. They don't look like a damn Pretty Deadly. They got an odd name, but they got over, which means names don't matter. That's why it's like, man, look, man. When it comes to social media, it has given the wrong people the wrong voice. Social media has given people voices that they don't really deserve. That's the bad part. Because people keep complaining about the WWE giving guys one name, or they cut off the damn name, right? I'm like, bro, they've been doing that before you was born, literally. Most of y'all born, what, 05, 03, like freaking 02? Do you know a guy by the name of D'Lo Brown? Did you know they cut off his name? At first his name was D'Lo Brown. Then, guess what? They chopped it off to just D'Lo. Huh? Tell me I'm lying. Oh man, y'all don't hear me, man. Let's talk about Deacon Dave Batista. That dude had his name chopped off once he left Devon. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't the WWE chop off his name too, Devon? Yes, eventually they chopped off his name to just Devon. So it's like, come on, man. Same thing with Bubba Ray. Eventually they chopped off his name to just I think it was just Ray. They chopped it off to just Bubba Ray Dudley. No, they chopped it off to just Bubba Ray. That's it. They do it all the time. They did it with Goldberg. He went from Bill Goldberg to just Goldberg. Let's talk about Lashley in TNA. He went from Bobby Lashley to just Lashley. Every company does it. In fact, they did it to freaking Cody Rhodes. When he left the WWE, like 6 years ago, he went from Cody Rhodes to just. But we didn't care. We knew who he was. We knew what his last name is. Who cares about him being named Cody? That don't matter. Because we know what his real name is. We know how good he is. We know who he is. Names don't matter because we know who you are. So, another example. Let's talk about a guy named Rikishi. He went from Rikishi Fatu to just Rikishi. What does that tell you? What's the difference between that and Austin Theory and a Big E and a Otis and a Antonio Cesaro? What's the damn difference? A legend like him had his name chopped off to just Rikishi. It's been happening before you was born, man. For years, this has been happening. It's like names don't matter. Look at Perry Saturn. Eventually, guess what? His name got chopped off to just Saturn. Huh? It's like, what are we talking about here? And people keep trashing the name Braun Breakker, even though the man named himself that. Breakker. I mean, how is that a bad name? His name came from the football field. He said with his own mouth, he used to break guys on the football field. That's why he named himself Braun Breakker. He will break you. Ain't that common sense? That's a cool name to me. And Braun is his real name. Y'all act like Braun is a fake name. Like, bruh, that's his given birth name, Braun. Okay, he has a gimmick last name. So does everybody else. So apparently he's the first wrestler to have a real first name and a gimmick last name? Huh? That's news to me. It's like, what are we talking about here? It's like, what's the problem by his name? It's like, look, he is a smart man too. Smart guy. Because let's say he would have stuck with the name Rex Steiner. He would get booed even more than he is now. Because people will say, oh, the only reason he's being pushed because he is a Steiner. Just see, he didn't fall for that trap. He didn't fall for the okie doke. Who is the most hated chick in the WWE? Oh, of course, it's freaking Charlotte Flair, right? Charlotte Flair is the most hated person in the WWE. Why? Because she's being pushed to the moon based on her last name. Well, that's what y'all say, right? You say the only reason she's being pushed because of her last name, right? Okay, just imagine Braun Breakker. The man is a 2-time champion in his first 6 months as a wrestler. Just imagine if he was known as a Steiner on TV by name. You would boo him. You would treat him the same way you treat Charlotte. You would say, oh, he's trying too much to be like his father and his uncle. Oh, he would never be his uncle. He will never be his father. So he was smart to, keep away those dumb comparisons. Now he is his own man. He became a 2-time champion with the name Braun Breakker, not Braun Steiner. Look, it's not always a good thing to be known as your famous father's last name. It's not always a good thing. It's not always a good thing. Ask Dominic. Seriously, ask David Flair. It's not always a good thing. It's like, what's the problem? Like, hold on. Let's talk about Bull Buchanan. He has a son currently in NXT 2.0. How come y'all not complaining about his son not having his last name, right? Why is that? How come his name ain't Buchanan on TV? Huh? Why? Why? Because Braun Steiner is a Steiner? Well, why? What's the difference? There's a lot of sons in wrestling that they have famous fathers who wrestle, but not all of them have their last name. So, what's the difference here? That's why I don't get, like, people complain just to complain. Like, look, just because you're a fanboy, that don't mean Braun needs to have that last name on TV. I mean, that's kind of biased. Bro, there's tons of guys in wrestling right now that have famous fathers that don't have their father's last name. For example, I think Von Wagner. Von Wagner had a famous father who was a wrestler. How come Von Wagner don't have his father's last name in professional wrestling? Why? Huh? You see what I'm saying? That makes no sense. Like, for example, I think what's his name? Finn Finley I think he has a son, right? I think his name is Dave Finley. I mean, bruh, he ain't his father, okay? He is not his father, man. I'm sorry. Hence why that dude is not in the WWE. So I'm saying it's not always a good thing to have your father's famous last name in professional wrestling, because people will compare your career to his career, and that ain't fair. But that's the risk you go by if you carry that last name once you step into the ring. Come on, man. Nobody cares about Philly's son. Come on, man. See what I'm saying? Because he ain't his father. He's over because that last name, not for his talent. It's that last name. That's why he's relevant, right? It's like, dude, not every wrestler's son carried his father's last name. For example, Bray Wyatt, Bo Dallas. Dude, those guys are brothers, right? How come they have different names on TV? Why is that man named Bo Dallas? And why is that man named Bray Wyatt? How come they don't have their dad's last name on TV? Huh? See, nobody thinks about this crap. You just think about one particular you think about one particular subject, and that's Braun Steiner or Braun Breakker. It's like, bro, there's tons of dudes that don't have their dad's last name. I don't get it. It's like, why? Because Braun has a famous family? Like, I don't get it. Like, huh? There's tons of wrestlers who have failed their father's last name. It's like, what's the problem with wanting to create your own legacy? What's the problem with that? What's the issue? Now let's get back to what's his name? Let's do that. Gunther. How can you cry and complain about his name? Gunther sounds way better than Walter. Walter sounds like a guy okay. Gunther should be a guy like Regal. When Regal should have the name Walter, right? Or a guy like Triple H from his first gimmick. Right back in what, like 95? See, that name Walter should be owned by a cocky, stuck-up guy from the UK, like a Regal. Regal should be named Walter, not a guy who's a badass like Gunther, right? Gunther is a badass, right? but not as Walter. Like that, Walter ain't no badass name. I'm sorry, it's not. You can't have a gimmick or character and your name is Walter. Like, bruh, you sound like you should be William Regal. That kind of gimmick. But Walter was not that kind of gimmick. He was a badass, right? Badass general. So Gunther sounds way better. Gunther sounds more marketable. Gunther sounds way more marketable. It sounds way more intimidating. More like, come on, man. It's like Walter should be a name for a cocky, stuck-up, arrogant prick from the UK who, I don't know, drinks tea and wears suits and tells you you have bad manners or something. Walter should be that kind of gimmick. That is a fancy name. I'm sorry. A guy like a William Regal should have that name with that kind of gimmick. And it's like, and look, the biggest excuse that people always say, well, he already had a name. His name was already famous. He was already established. There was no need for a change. Look, bitch, shut up. I get that all the time. Like, my God. See, this is why I never go live, because I hate talking to wrestling fans. I like, dude, I would never go live. I don't want to talk to nobody. I would never do a StreamYard. I would never go live with nobody because I hate people. But, dude, it's like, what does that matter? Oh, his name was already established. Okay, by your logic, by that logic, how come every guy that left the WWF had to change their name once they went to a different company? It's like, bruh, you gotta look at it this way. Nobody watches NXT. Only hardcore marks watch it. Not casuals. SmackDown averages 2 million viewers per week. On an average, when it comes to freaking NXT, they average what, like 500K? Maybe? Don't get me started on the UK. Nobody watches that show. So what's the harm here? Dude, look at Doudrop. The only dudes that was complaining about her name was you marks who watched that show. Well, what? Like freaking what? 100K? Who watches freaking NXT UK? What? Maybe 150K? Maybe. I'm being nice. I'm being generous. Maybe 100K. Maybe 200K tops. Nobody watches that show. Hence why when Pretty Deadly made their debut, they got no pop. Know why? Nobody knew who they were. Right? That's what I mean. So you can get away with changing Walter's name and changing Butch's name and freaking Ludwig. Now look, I love the name Ludwig. I don't like the name Marcel. Marcel is a black guy name. And yes, I'm a black man. I can say that. Marcel is a black name. Do some homework, right? Do homework. I know the name Marcel like the freaking back of my hand. That's a black name. You know why? How about you type in Marcel in the NFL? You will get tons of videos of different players for the NFL named Marcel. And guess what? They all freaking black. Type in Marcel Reese, a black player for the NFL. There's tons of football players by name Marcel in college and in the pros. That's a black name. I know I have tons of friends who are named Marcel, and guess what? They are all black. So that's why I wasn't fond of a white guy being named Marcel. I thought that was weird. So him being named Ludwig, okay, that fits his gimmick. That fits the character. Ludwig and Gunther. Yeah, that sounds like a German team that you could fuck with. You know what I'm saying? I like that name. Now, how could you complain? Why would you cry over Marcel Barthel being changed to Ludwig Kaiser? Like, what kind of world are we living in, man? What's the difference between those names, man? Like, what's the difference? You crying over that freaking name? Nobody watches NXT 2.0. Duh. Hence why they had to move to freaking Tuesdays. Nobody was watching the show. So they could get away with changing names. You know why? It don't matter how established you made that name on NXT. That is a developmental brand. That's a farm system. Vince McMahon, he did that all the time with OVW. He would change the names all the time. Let's talk about Leviathan to Dave Batista, the freaking Deacon. That dude had his gimmick changed and his name changed. And guess what? That paid off, right? That paid off pretty damn well. It's like people are crying over the name Austin Theory. Dude, who cares? What's the difference? Dave Batista, Batista. So I got receipts of tons of guys who got their name chopped off. Otis had a last name, right? But his last name was too hard to say. So it was smart that they chopped that shit off. It's like common sense. Antonio Cesaro. Cesaro sounds like a name that should be one name. That name is very unique. So why not name him Cesaro? Guess what? We got used to it. Who the hell calls him Antonio? I don't. So who cares about names, man? It's about how you are booked with that name. There's tons of names who were jobbers, who had cool names. So there's names don't matter. Cause look, man. AEW has some of the worst names of all time. Orange Cassidy. His name is Orange. Let me say it again. His name is Orange. You serious? And you marks got used to it, but the man's name is Orange. Wow. You saying people in the WWE are giving out names like Orange? But you got used to it. But there's tons of awful names in that company. The Bunny, the Blade, the Butcher. Bruh, there's only one Butcher. His name is Abdullah the damn Butcher. We know what his gimmick was. But this Butcher in AW, I don't know what his gimmick is. So yeah, that's a dumb name. The Butcher, like, bro, what are you butchering? Meat? Like, huh? Like, bro, look, bro, you ain't Brock Lesnar. You ain't no Butcher. But tons of dumb names, Danhausen, and then look, people say, oh, well, they had those names on the indies. Well, that's worse. You are allowing people on TV with indie jobber names on a big network. There's a reason why the WWE always changes every indie star's name. Because the majority of indie guys got stupid, dumb names. Come on, man. It's like freaking Hook. Hook is a dumb name. It's The only reason you like Hook because he's being pushed. If he was a jobber, you say his name would be stupid. What is a Hook? What's his gimmick? What is he a pirate? Does he bang hookers? What is his gimmick? Is he a pimp? Does he pimp hookers? I don't know what his gimmick is. What kind of name is Hook? For a wrestler on TV. Luchasaurus, that's a stupid name too. Dude, you are named after a dinosaur, bruh. Saurus? You are a lucha dinosaur? Bruh, that's a dumb name, man. You kidding me? Why are you allowing jobber indie names on your television show? Yes, it's a good thing that the WWE always changes your goddamn name. Can you imagine Roman Reigns at WrestleMania in the main event versus a guy named Jungle Boy? You think that's gonna draw? Huh? Can you imagine Reigns on, I don't know, Fallon on his show, right? Let's say Roman Reigns saying, "Hey, yo, man, Jimmy Fallon, man, I'm gonna face a guy by the name of Jungle Boy in the main event." You be like, huh? You mean who? Thinking on Tarzan? Like, bro, what kind of name of Jungle Boy? Dude, just call him Jack Perry. That's a way better name. Just call him Jack Perry. Jungle Boy, that's a stupid name, man. Like, exactly with Wheeler Yuta. What the fuck is a Wheeler? That's a dumb name too. And once again, the only reason you think his name is cool because he's being pushed. When he was a jobber, his name was trash. You didn't care about him. Now he's being pushed. Now he's in a program with Brian, Dean Ambrose now. Now you saying he's cool with a cool name? You're just living in a goddamn moment. He has a trash name. That's a bad name. It's like bro, there's tons of wrestlers on the roster with dumb names. Who had dumb names before that company? Which is worse. Dude, why are you allowing people with indie jobber names on your TV show? I don't get it. It's weird to me. It's like, cause it's like those names might be the reason you ain't drawing a huge audience. Maybe. Because if a casual is watching and he's seeing a guy by the name of Jungle Boy, Saurus, Orange Cassidy, or somebody with those kind of weird names, you never know. Maybe that is the reason why you ain't getting high ratings. Those are jobber names that you would never see on WWE TV. Look, let's talk about CM Punk. CM Punk, he said it with his own mouth. He said the name CM Punk is a dumb name. And yes, me and him actually see eye to eye on this one, because this was when he actually defended the name Braun Breakker. He said, well, my name is pretty dumb, CM Punk, right? He said his name is dumb. But we got used to it. And you will get used to Braun freaking Breakker. It's like, dude, your name don't matter. It's how you are booked. When you are booked strong, you can make any damn name sound great. It's all about the follow-up. It's all about how you are booked. Everybody has a dumb name in professional wrestling. But you gotta work your ass off to make that name sound good. That's what it's all about. It's not about, oh, I have a cool name, which means I'm great. No. There's jobbers with cool names, but what does that matter? In fact, There's tons of wrestlers with awful, terrible names. But they are great now. They are legends. That's what I mean. It's all about how you are booked, how you are presented on television. That's why I never cry or complain about names being changed, or this guy's name or that guy's name. It's all about how you are booked. Make that name sound good based on your booking. If that's what Braun Breakker did. Now he's going to be a big time player in that company. Based on his hard work and not based on his last name of his family. That's all I'm saying. I'm done.